Welcome, everybody. Bryan Moss back with another podcast episode. This one's Behind Enemy Lines. We're going to talk to Jarod Hamilton from Power Mizzou. So let's go ahead and bring him on. Jarod, how you doing today?
Doing well. How about yourself, man?
Not too bad. Let's go ahead and get into this. I want to ask you about this Memphis, Missouri matchup. And this tweet I want to show you because I know folks in Memphis got all in an uproar about the game moving, but this you guys' coach, he ain't scared to play there, here, or anywhere, but the game was moved. So what do you think about I guess the game being moved, the tweet and stuff like that? I think because of that, I think this game may be a little bit more fiery than it would have been had it been in Memphis.
He's an interesting guy. he's an interesting guy. Maybe trolling just a tad bit. I mean, I don't know how this all came. I mean, it came to be. I think it's going to be an interesting and kind of feisty game already, just because Memphis it's not that far away from St. Louis, is it?
I mean, it's a day trip. I mean, so it's not like it takes forever and a day to get there. So, but I would expect some Memphis fans to show up.
Yeah, it's about an hour 45 for Columbia. So, in essence, Missouri's done turned it into quasi a home game. So you got that, and obviously, I think it's interesting considering also the Liberty Bowl and how and all that stuff that went around. Missouri possibly even playing in that game and the conditions of the stadium and all that other stuff. So I think it's going to be fiery regardless. And I think also St. Louis kind of being Missouri's basically their home turf, they're going to want to try to put on for their fans anyway.
Yeah, and talk about Missouri's schedule up to that point. You have South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, Kansas State, and then Memphis. Is it a good run of form, you think, or does it set up nicely going into SEC play for the Tigers?
I think it sets up nicely for Missouri. They're still they got 3 quarterbacks battling out for the starting QB spot. Brady Cook was the starter last year. Had a torn labrum he played through most of the year with. He had some struggles. It was really up and down for him. They brought in Jay Garcia from Miami, and they got a former 4-star in Sam Horn that they like. That they're just duking it out. And those first couple of games, like you said, South Dakota and Middle Tennessee, Drink has already told us that if he needs to, the competition will extend into those games where you can see multiple quarterbacks playing and stuff like that. They're moving a lot of pieces on their offensive line. They've got their star defensive tackle moving to the edge. So those first few games actually where, they should win basically those first couple of games. They're using those games still to figure out who they are and what they want to be. So it sets up nicely before they get into SEC play.
When you take a look at the Missouri Tigers this year, for them to have a successful season, what must they do in your opinion?
They've got to be more explosive. They got to score more touchdowns. I was looking at some Memphis stats before I got on here. Memphis was a pretty explosive offense. I think it was top 25 in pass offense and scoring offense. Missouri, I think they were averaging about 25 points per game, and they've got the defense. They got most of their defense returning, but it's the offense. The offensive line play was bad last year. Like I said, Cook was having issues at quarterback. They just never got the deep ball going in those explosive plays. If they can put up one more touchdown, like Drink was telling us at SEC Media Days, they'll be in a better situation to, go above 6-6. They've been at 500 for some years now.
Yeah, and if you could pick one person on offense, one person on defense, Missouri, who do you think is going to have a breakout year on each side of the ball?
Breakout year on each side of the ball. So offense. So here's the easy answer because I don't want to get in trouble. The easy answer is Luther Burden. He but when I think breakout, I think of a person I'm not expecting to already do that. Most people expect he's going to move into the slot from the outside where he's going to be a little bit more comfortable. Most people expect him to have a big season. So not him. Big season on offense. Can I make it like a position group maybe?
Sure. Yeah, that'd work.
Well, it would really still be a whole wide receiver room. I mean, that wide receiver room is as deep as it's probably has been since at least Drake has been here, maybe. They've got 5 people easily that they know they're going to play, and there's probably another 3 or 4 guys who they would like to get on the field. It's just a deep group on defense. Breakout guy.
And it could be position as well on defense if you need to.
I mean, defense. I got Tristan Newsom in my head. He's a JUCO transfer. But the way he was playing in spring ball, I mean, he was just getting a lot of interceptions as a transfer linebacker. He's pretty fast. He's agile. He's quick. He just seems like a ball hawk. And to have that in your linebacker group, I mean, they've got a couple solid linebackers in Chad Bailey and Tyron Hopper, but Tristan Newsom kind of being that guy who can make plays in the passing game. I mean, every team would like to have a coverage linebacker, so to say.
And, we'll have to talk about the conference realignment and stuff like that. Just what's, how's Missouri's take on it? With you have Texas and Oklahoma coming in, it's going to make life a little bit harder. As Mizzou fans excited about the change? What's their thoughts going into the realignment coming up? That's already happened, and next year when the 2 teams come into the SEC.
I think a lot of Missouri fans are happy to kind of rekindle some stuff from the Big 12, but still obviously be in the SEC. They love being in the SEC. They're happy to be here and not have to kind of worry about all this stuff that some of these other teams are going through. They're glad to be in this conference. But yes, Oklahoma and Texas will make it, harder, especially for those middle of the pack teams. And I consider Missouri one of them. But I think they're happy to it's like a best of both worlds kind of thing. They're squared away, but they also get to rekindle some stuff with their old foes from the Big 12.
And do you think Missouri could be that type of team? I mean, because when they first came into the SEC, I think it was their second year they win the division, second and third year they won the division. But I feel that they can be the team that maybe not push for a conference championship. Like every single year, but like once out of every 4 or 5 years, I think they can have a special year and challenge for that. Is that what the expectations are from the fan base?
Yeah, that's about right. Maybe not always challenging, well, I guess divisions are about to end, but maybe not always in the past challenging Georgia and I guess now Tennessee, but kind of like that 3rd and 4th spot, like I said, they've been a kind of a middle of the pack team, but it's always felt like they were middle towards the bottom, though. Like for the last few years, Vanderbilt obviously struggled and has been at the bottom, and it's always, Missouri being, 6th in the division or being 5th or as far as people picking them as, where they would place. They definitely have the chance. They're recruiting well. Obviously, there's a few big targets out there that they're hoping, commit to them soon. Got Williams Nwaneri, the top 5 guy who will possibly may commit to Missouri this time next week. Got Ryan Wingo, 5-star receiver from St. Louis. He's a guy that when he's going to commit in December is what he said. They hope they can get a guy like that and Jeremiah McClellan. So if they can keep this recruiting going, they've been recruiting well. They've been getting transfers in. It just feels like they're maybe a little bit away. It's always something minor, like that Auburn game last year, missing that kick. That's a win. False start at the 1-yard line versus Georgia when you kind of got them reeling. That could have been another touchdown. They settled for 3. That kind of bit them in the butt at the end. It's just little things. So it's recruiting on the field, all types of stuff. But it seems like they should be closer to that, upper echelon, not the top, but, competing a little bit more than they are.
All right, going back to this Memphis, Missouri game, what is your expectations? What do you expect to happen during this game, or what type of game were you expecting?
Well, based off of what I seen off those offensive stats that Memphis was putting up, if they're putting those type of stats up versus this defense is going to be much more interesting than people expect. I mean, the strength of this team is their defense. They've got 8 starters returning. I really include 9 with this safety called Dalen Carnell. He played about 45% of the snaps last year, so I basically say he's a starter level player. It's going to be an exciting game. It's probably some that I think most people think Missouri should win, but it's not going to be that easy. Memphis is not I wouldn't think it's a game where Missouri should be so far focused on, whoever their next opponent is. I think that game is week 4, right?
Yeah. So they're not going to overlook Memphis and get to Vanderbilt, huh?
But it's SEC play. It's easy to do that, but I do not think they should do that at all. They shouldn't do that with any game, but that's a perfect trap game. And like we mentioned earlier, it's because of them moving the game from Memphis, because it's going to be in St. Louis where their backyard is. I think they'll be paying attention anyway, but this is not a game where it's not South Dakota, it's not Middle Tennessee State. They've got to lock in for that one.
Yeah, and then just one more thing about the realignment. What are your thoughts on the state of college football and the realignment? Where do you see it going from here?
For me personally, I do miss regionality. I think Pete Thamel just put something out about them having some type of meeting. The ACC is having some type of meeting about maybe adding California and Stanford. And I'm just thinking, California and Wake Forest. That's the matchup where everybody's dying to see in all sports. I mean, everybody's trying to not be left out. They're trying to go to where the money is. And from some aspects, you can understand that. Like, for example, Missouri fans were dealing with this about 12 years ago, into 2011 type of thing. They were dealing with this where, wow, they didn't know for so long what the Big 12 was going to be. A couple years ago, the Big 12 seemed to be in the same situation the Pac-12 is in now. It looks like they were going to be knocked out. They mentioned to not only kind of like get back in it. I mean, they're not going to be Big 10 or SEC, but they actually got some teams that look they're Power 5 teams. At first, when they were just adding, UCF and Houston, people they were kind of hum-ho about it, but adding Arizona and Utah and all this other stuff lately, they've kind of revived themselves. But it's crazy to see Conference of Champions basically going down, and it seems really quick. Yeah. I mean, what was it, just a year ago, USC and UCLA, made the announcement they're jumping to the Big 10. And I guess that's where this all really starts, once they lose those LA schools. And that's crazy. I don't know. Do we call it a Power 4, a Power 3? I don't know where it's going to go to, but it's crazy.
It's going to be interesting. And another thing is, about the 12-team playoff, because I think right now the top 6 conferences, get the automatic bid. Well, with the Pac-4, they don't. You can't have a conference of 4. So if they go away, I mean, what does the other conferences do? Do they change the rules to where it's, the top 5? Because do they really want 2 group of 5, guaranteed slots? It's all going to be interesting. And, I just hope, for me personally, I hope I just get it over with and quit dragging it out, because I don't know. I'm with you, though. I miss the regionality. It's just kind of weird that there's not going to be a Pac conference. It just, I don't know. It's weird on where it's going.
It's definitely mind blowing to think of. When you think of the conferences, you think Big 12, you think middle of the country, Big 10, Midwest, ACC, obviously the coast, and then South. SEC is the Southeast. But when you think about the West Coast and Mountain West, the West Coast Conference, and no disrespect to those, but obviously those are not Power 5 conferences. So it just feels like there's a big void on that side of the country. And again, Stanford versus Virginia or whatever. It's odd. It is definitely odd.
Yep, it definitely is. And there's obviously going to be more of it, since you can't have a conference of 4. So, but tell Memphis fans where they can follow you on social and follow your work on the net.
Yeah, so on Twitter, Jarod C. Hamilton. You can find my work at PowerMizzou.com. I'm actually really familiar with the Memphis area. I was just there a year ago. I used to live in Jackson, covering high school sports.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so when they had a nice little crop of guys there, Ty Simpson, Jalen Brown, Jalen Lewis, and Anthony Brown, all those guys over there. So I'm pretty familiar with that area over there.
Nice. And you like Memphis barbecue the best, right?
It's decent. It's decent. Now I'm not gonna say too much. I'm not getting myself in trouble in here, man. I like everything. I like all the barbecue.
Man, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, man.